Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We'll get started here. Are we okay? Are we recording? Okay, thank you.
It's behind them.
It is Thursday, May 19th, and it's 6 p.m., and this is a business session of the Olentangy School Board. And again, welcome for being here this evening. And with the call of the order there, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bartz?
Here.
Mrs. Fiesel?
Here.
Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mrs. Patrick?
Here.
Mr. King?
Here. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. For the approval of the agenda, I have a couple of items, right?
Yes, sir. We have we have an amended agenda to approve. There was a correction to the presentation section. Unfortunately, Representative Brenner ended up with a scheduling conflict and was not able to make it, so we've eliminated his presentation. And then Superintendent Action Item S has been amended with a new exhibit, and those are all attached. So you'll be making a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So could we have that motion, please?
Will Representative Brenner be rescheduling with us?
He's been invited to our June 9th board meeting.
Okay.
Busy night.
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
Second.
I'll defer to
Any discussion on the agenda? If not, please call the roll.
Mrs. Patrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Fiesel?
Yes.
Mr. Bartz?
yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes, so the approval passes 5-0. We have a couple of very important presentations, so Ms. Andres, if you would join us, please, we will
We're going
have...
to do the community service first. We changed.
Oh, are we?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
I'm
changed the order
sorry,
on the
I'm sorry.
agenda.
We're going to do C first, which is Community Service Awards, and Mr. Bartz will read those names.
All right. Good evening and welcome. Tonight, the board will recognize the community members who have given their time and talents which enrich our schools. The Olentangy Board of Education established the Community Service Awards in 1986 to honor community residents who have had a major impact on our children's education through their volunteer efforts or significant monetary or in-kind donations. The following is a list of those award winners and some of the direct comments made by those who nominated them. When your name is called, please come forward to accept your award and have your photo taken with Superintendent Mark Rafe and Board President Dave King. We'd also like you to take a group picture of all our outstanding community members, so after the awards are presented, please gather in the lobby for the group picture, unless you want to stay to the bitter end of this fabulous meeting. We will begin with our first award recipient, Leslie Armstrong, who was nominated by Cheshire Elementary. Leslie is a dedicated and amazing volunteer at Cheshire Elementary School. She currently serves as our PTO secretary. She is the voice of reason and a true cheerleader for Cheshire. Goodness gracious. Lineman. She is the voice of reason and a true cheerleader for Cheshire and the Olentangy Local School District. She has also served as a Girl Scout leader and led an extremely successful book fair to support our school. We're happy Leslie is a member of our school community and school district. So thank you, Leslie.
Yay.
Marilyn Arthur, nominated by Olentangy Meadows Elementary. Marilyn has spent countless hours volunteering her time at Olentangy Meadows Elementary. Whenever there is need, Marilyn is one of the first to step up and ask how she can help. Thank you, Marilyn.
Yay.
Angie Bryant, nominated by Olentangy Meadows Elementary. Angie has given a great deal of her time and expertise to the Olentangy Local School District over the years. She was the PTO treasurer at Olentangy Meadows Elementary School and did a wonderful job. She served as an integral member of the Facilities Committee, and still is, by the way, and also participated in the Attendance Boundaries Committee. We truly appreciate all she has done to better our wonderful district. Thank you, Angie. Stephanie Caldwell, nominated by Cheshire Elementary. Stephanie is a wonderful partner in education. She has worked hard over the last 2 years serving as the Cheshire PTO treasurer. She has also partnered with the school through her position at Chase as a way to donate both funds and supplies to enhance our school community. She is efficient and dedicated and focused on supporting our great school and district. We are so thankful for Stephanie's support and community service. Thank you, Stephanie. Anthony Kiriko, nominated by Alum Creek Elementary. Anthony helps out in so many different ways. He helps Alum Creek students during computer club and assists the staff every year before school starts by getting computers up and running in classrooms and the computer lab. In addition, he is also a VIP for a couple of teachers. As a VIP, he comes to school after he gets out of school and makes copies for teachers and helps out with whatever else is needed. Anthony really deserves this award. Thank you, Anthony. Karen Clark, who was nominated by the district leadership team. Karen has served as co-chair for the Attendance Boundaries Committee 2 times, most recently in fall 2015. We greatly appreciate Karen's willingness to lead and facilitate a complex process and appreciate the time and leadership she has willingly dedicated to our district with her service on this essential community committee. Thank you, Karen. Kate Dimantova. Kate was nominated by Hyatt's Middle School. Kate has worked tirelessly at Hyatt's Middle School, volunteering for various activities. She headed up Operation Buckeye for the first time this year. The initiative was responsible for sending hundreds of care boxes to troops overseas. It was a huge success, and we give a great deal of credit to Kate. Thank you, Kate. Noel Gardner, who was nominated by Freedom Trail Elementary. Excuse me, Noel. Noel goes above and beyond the call of duty for all the students at Freedom Trail Elementary. Her hard work and dedication is evident in everything she does. Noel truly believes in the great things that go on in the Olentangy local schools. She strives for perfection and takes great pride in everything she does for Freedom Trail Elementary. Thank you, Noel. Sue Gunn, who was nominated by Tyler Run Elementary. Perhaps accepting on her behalf. Sue has been an active volunteer for 12 years, especially in the art room at Tyler Run. She was always willing to help the building in any way we need it. Tyler Run is so grateful for the number of volunteer hours Sue has given us over the years. Sue was unable to attend this evening, so her husband John is here to accept this award. John, please give Sue our best and thank her for her service. Mark Ayanada, who was nominated by the district leadership team. Mark has served as co-chair for the Attendance Boundaries Committee the past 2 times, most recently in fall 2015. He has also chaired a number of previous redistricting efforts over the years. We sincerely appreciate Mark's continued willingness to lead and facilitate a complex process and appreciate the time, experience, and leadership he has willingly dedicated to our district with his service on this essential community committee. Thank you, Mark. Dr. Andrew and Tracy McDowell, nominated by Wyandotte Run Elementary. Dr. and Mrs. McDowell are wonderful and so kind and generous to give of their time to help Olentangy. They worked tirelessly and dedicated much of their time during the recent levy effort. They have been parents at Wyandotte Run for many years. The staff is sad to see their youngest children move on to the middle school. The McDowell family will be truly missed at Wyandotte Run Elementary. Thank you both for your service. Becky Monago, nominated by Orange Middle School. Becky has 3 sons who attend Olentangy schools. Throughout their years in the district, Becky has spent countless time volunteering in classrooms, serving on PTO committees, going on field trips, and giving all she can to support the students and staff at Orange Middle School. Becky is now substituting in the clinics and offices in several school buildings around the district. She is a trusted resource, and we appreciate all her work. Thank you, Becky, for your service. Keith Pickelheimer, nominated by Liberty High School. Keith Pickelheimer has spent the last 4 years volunteering a tremendous amount of his time and energy in athletic programming at Liberty High School. The majority of his time has been working in game operations and event management, as he has served in various capacities such as clock operator, scorekeeper, statistician, PA announcer, and assistant manager for track meets. Always punctual and courteous, Keith is a tireless worker that has set a very positive example of what it means to help others. He and his wife, Melissa, have been extremely supportive of Liberty High School, the Liberty Athletic Boosters, as well as the Olentangy Local School District. Thank you, Keith, for your service to the district. Stacy Tokarski, nominated by Tyler Run Elementary. Stacy has been an active volunteer for the past 6 years at Tyler Run Elementary. She has been the treasurer, walkathon committee chair, classroom volunteer, and volunteers at most of our PTO events. Stacy has made a tremendous impact on the students and staff. Thank you, Stacy. Stephanie Wagner, nominated by Orange High School. Stephanie has been an avid supporter of the staff at Orange High School as a financial representative for the Principal Financial Group. During recent years, Stephanie has not only provided financial counseling to the staff upon request, but has also generously sponsored meals during staff professional development and staff appreciation. Her generosity and continued support for the employees at Orange High School is greatly appreciated. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you to all our volunteers for all that you do. It's great to have a community like this, and we appreciate all that you do. I would please remind you, if you don't mind getting a group shot, to please go out in the lobby and we'll get a group shot of everyone. And thank you again for your service to Olentangy. Yeah, and you can't come back for the meeting. You really can't.
Even though the sun is out.
Missed one.
We did?
Carrie,
Who?
we missed one?
Liberty Middle.
Did we miss a uno momento, por favor? I apologize, it's not on my script, but I'll take the blame. We had everyone come, we don't want to leave her. You can do it? Please, thank you.
I'd like to nominate Shira Eichhorn.
Yes.
Shira is amazing. Shira has coordinated our 8th grade celebration. She has coordinated our book fairs that has turned into the most profitable fundraisers that we've done. And every time you look around, you see Shira with a smile on her face. And honestly, she's an integral part of Liberty Middle School, and I'm super proud. So I'm glad you got to get recognized.
And a tremendous supporter of our district. We are good, I believe. There might be another plaque upstairs if I ever made it down.
That's what you went to look for, I would imagine. Okay, if you're ready. Okay.
I don't want this, do I? Is it what?
Yeah, gifted.
This one?
There we go. All right, good evening. Well, thank you for having me. I'm going to give a brief update related to gifted services, some celebrations that we've had in our department, and then future needs that we have ongoing. So we're going to start by just giving a quick overview about state requirements related to gifted education. So in the state of Ohio, we are required to identify students, but not necessarily serve them. So each district is able to decide locally as to what their service plan will be. We do need to use state-approved assessments, and we do have operating standards. So if districts determine that they are going to provide services to students, we must follow the state operating standards. Our current state operating standards for gifted are from 2008. They were due to be revised in 2013, and they are still sitting in the State Achievement Committee. So we are hoping that those will be looked at and approved here this summer is the current timeline for that revision. Looking at service criteria for Olentangy schools, we provide direct services when students have identifications in both superior cognitive ability and specific academic areas. So in order to meet that criteria, students generally take the InView. All of our students are whole grade screened at 2nd, 3rd, and 6th grade using the InView and Terra Nova assessments. And students meet the criteria for cognitive ability with a score of a 128, and then on the Terra Nova for specific academics with a 95th percentile score or higher. In grades 3 through 5, we provide direct services in reading and math, and going into next year, we are going to be adding additional services at science and social studies. And so our secondary model will be reading, math, science, and social studies in grades 6 through 12. So here's our current number of students. As of yesterday, we have 8,639 students in Olentangy schools that have at least one area of gifted ID. That's about 43% of our total population. So we are very fortunate to have a large number of high-performing students in the district. This number does not include kindergarten and first grade students. We are not doing assessments in Olentangy until the spring of 2nd grade. And this number does include seniors who have now graduated, so that number in the fall will go down a little bit as that senior class matriculates and moves forward. So the next number there is number of students calculated in our gifted value-added data. That number is a little bit different than our total number of students and also our number of students that are served. It includes students in grades 4 through 8 in reading and math. So if students have one of those areas of ID in that reading, math, or superior cognitive ability, they are calculated in our value-added growth measure. Then that final number is our number of students receiving direct services. So again, those are the students that meet our district service criteria with multiple areas of identification. And that number is about 22% of our total number of identified students, about 10% of the total district population, which is very much in line with our special ed population. And in many states, gifted students are considered part of a larger pupil services spectrum. And so those numbers on either end of performance are generally in line with one another. So this is our continuum of services for Olentangy. Our goal is to provide a continuum of services and to offer differing types of opportunities for students with differing levels of need. Again, this mirrors our support and the types of services that we provide for our students with disabilities. So we try to put students into services that are in line with their level of need. So moving from the bottom of the pyramid, you can see that these are the types of services that are available to any of our students that might have a gifted ID, and all of these services will benefit those students, including extracurriculars or additional enrichment. It might include guidance support, certainly differentiated instruction in the classroom, or advanced classes or mentorship opportunities. So any of our gifted students and any of our population of students can take those opportunities to kind of extend their interests and extend their strengths. Moving forward on the pyramid, we go up to cluster grouping, which is our primary level of support for students that receive direct services. We purposely place those students together in homerooms at the elementary level or on teams at the middle school level, so those students have the opportunity to work with other gifted learners, and then our gifted specialists are pushing into those classrooms to co-teach and to co-plan with the teachers that provide instruction to those learners. And then at the very top of our pyramid is acceleration, which is our most intensive level of service for a fewer number of students. This would include students that might be subject accelerated, perhaps just in math is where we have the largest number of students that are taking an above grade level math course, or they're in an above grade level for their math instruction. But we do have students that are accelerated in other subject areas as well. And then that might also include students that are early entrants to kindergarten or have skipped a grade entirely. So whole grade accelerations are also included there. So this is a fewer number of our students that need that level of intensive instruction. Just to highlight and celebrate some of the offerings that we have, this is just a small number of the enrichment opportunities that are happening at our buildings at different levels that really support the academic needs and interests of our students who are identified as gifted. In addition to this list, we also have 21 AP courses, and we have plans to actually increase that number. We have an AP capstone course that will be offered at Orange High School beginning in the fall, and then at the following, the other two high schools the following school year. So we continue to look at advanced opportunities for students and other extracurriculars that will support their needs both in the district and outside of the district as well. Our gifted specialists often lead and execute a lot of these extracurriculars and are involved in the initial beginnings of these types of clubs, and also in the professional development for our AP and different staff members. So gifted staffing, we currently have 27 gifted specialists in the district. We have 16 at the elementary level, so 1 at each of our buildings. And then we did add an additional 16th person last year to travel between our buildings that have the highest number. So that person currently splits between Scioto Ridge and Heritage, and that will be the same situation going into next school year as well. We have 10 middle school gifted specialists, so again, we added 5 positions at that level. So each of our middle schools has 2 gifted specialists. Currently 1 is supporting teachers with ELA and social studies, and the other supports teachers in science and math instruction. And then we have 1 person at the high school, and that was also an additional position added this past school year. And this person's role is really to do professional development for staff. So they work with teachers, they work with counselors, they work with our high school administrators to provide ongoing learning around the needs of gifted students. So we're really excited to have this level of staffing and this level of service and commitment to the gifted students in the district. So this is something a lot of other districts don't have. So we're very fortunate to again have this level of support. Those teachers co-plan, co-teach, collaborate, and again provide professional development for our staff. So the benefits of those additional staff members at secondary, what we've really been able to do this year, we have added service for high school students in that AP levels of courses. So again, those teachers are receiving additional professional development. They're receiving on-the-spot job-embedded coaching from Rachel Dobney, our high school gifted specialist. She has been able to offer bi-monthly professional development in every building during the school day at each high school. So teachers can use their collaboration or their independent planning time or even their lunch period to go and get some information from Rachel. She's also worked again with our counselors at each of the buildings. She's even met with intervention specialists at our high schools to meet with them about some of the needs of our twice exceptional population. So students that might have learning disabilities or other areas of disability along with gifted identification. So that's really been a huge improvement to have that level of support for our high school teachers. We also have additional time in classrooms for our middle school staff. Our middle school teachers have felt very much more supported this year because we have that additional person. So our gifted specialists have been much more visible in the classrooms. They are truly able to do some more co-teaching and co-planning. We've been able to provide more support for social studies and science staff, and also increasing our ability to support the social emotional needs of our gifted population, which before was very difficult to address with one person trying to support 4 subject areas and 3 grade levels. So we've been able to do some more professional development and counseling with students there as well. So some celebrations. We, again, have the highest value-added growth in the state of Ohio, and that's been for the last 2 years running. So when you look at that gain index for how our gifted students are growing across the district, in order to have an A, that all tests measure needs to be a 2 or higher, and we are at a 38. So we are doing a phenomenal job when it comes to growing our gifted kids and pushing them to extend their learning and to challenge them in our classrooms. So that is really a testament to not only our gifted specialists, but also to our classroom teachers who are participating in professional development. They are willing collaborators and phenomenal differentiators in terms of their classroom instruction in order to meet the wide range of needs that we have with our gifted population. Another celebration, all 20 buildings had an A for gifted value added this year. So that's the first time that all of our buildings with a value added rating had an A. We had 6 elementaries that were top 10 in the state for value added, and that was Tyler Run, Oak Creek, Wyandotte Run, Walnut Creek, Freedom Trail, and Cider Ridge. And then all 5 middle schools were also in the top 10. So we're thrilled with those numbers, and again, that just truly demonstrates how much our teachers are providing for our kids. So some professional development. We had Ian Bird, who is a national blogger, speaker, sort of presenter on gifted education, who goes around to many state conferences and national conferences speaking about gifted. We were fortunate enough to have him here 3 different times throughout the year. He came in October, January, and March. He did sessions for teachers and sessions for parents. Throughout the year, we had 185 teachers participate in that professional development, and 144 parents attended his sessions. So we were really thrilled with that level of participation. He is actually coming back to present at Think Tank because our teachers loved his session so much and found it really valuable, so he's going to be at those sessions as well. He is going to be our keynote speaker and then doing some additional workshops for teachers next week. At the building level, we teachers, our gifted specialists, do a variety of things in terms of professional development. They are co-planning with teachers on a regular basis and have common planning time with them very frequently. They are often leading staff meetings and team meetings with those teachers around gifted ed and related initiatives. They will do monthly sessions with teachers as well. We've set up several online Schoology modules so teachers can access gifted information and some other things in terms of professional learning on their own time after school without the need for a gifted specialist right in front of them. And then we've also offered a variety of book studies throughout the year. We've done 4 different OPDA courses this year and have 2 more coming up in the summer that we continue to offer for teachers as after-school sessions and options to continue their learning about gifted ed. And then our district PD was focused on critical thinking, which is perfectly in line with the needs of gifted learners, and again, just kind of weaves in some strategies and instructional models that teachers can use with all students that will certainly benefit our gifted population. So some things I know that came up when we first went through the report card information way back in March and April now, but wanted to highlight some of the questions that came up related to the gifted performance indicator. So overall throughout the district, we have a not met rating, and there are 3 different components that go into that rating. So we have the gifted performance index, which is very much in line with our same performance index. We're just looking at our district performance index. We're just looking at levels of where students are falling on state assessments. So how many students are in the advanced category, how many are accelerated, and so forth. So in that situation, we did not meet. We needed a 115 to meet that particular indicator, and as a district, we had a 114.5. So in terms of a PI out of 120, our kids are very highly performing, but we didn't meet the measure that was set forth by the state. So we expect with new assessments again, and with changing assessments, that will continue to increase. But that is a moving target as well. So next year going forward, that new measure for us will be a 116. So in order to meet that particular component, we will need a 116 overall index. Our gifted input points are the one piece that I'm going to talk more about because this is most confusing. This particular school year, or 14-15 school year, we did meet the input points. Really what this is looking at is the number of students that are identified, and that's calculated actually as a across our total population. And then we look at the number of those students that are being served. And that is broken down into several different categories, which I'm going to go into. But we actually met that component this year. And then our value-added component was also met for the 14-15 year. So our target for input points, in order to meet that indicator, we needed 40. So we had a 48 out of 100 possible. Again, that's another increasing measure that we're going to need to look at. We will need to be at 60 points in order to meet that measure. And going forward, it even increases to 80 points. So that's something that's part of our challenge, is we need to look at how we are going to inform our community about what this measure means, and also to keep reviewing our service models and to see where we stand with this particular measure and the level of service that we feel that we're providing to our students. So just a quick example, we added more than 400 students for AP service at the high school. And just with the way that this is calculated, because it's based on percentage, that only gave us 2 more points on this total scale. So even though we continue to expand services and we look for opportunities to do so, a large number, like an additional 400 students, when we look at this particular measure and the way it's calculated, didn't give us that much of a gain on this measure. So we continue to look for those ways, but it's a difficult challenge that we're going to have to continue to review and talk through as a district. So just some more examples. Again, our total number of input points is 100. We clearly meet the identification points. So out of a possible 15 points for K through 3, we get all 15 because we have identified a large enough percentage of our students. Same with 4 through 8 and same with 9 through 12. When we get to looking at service, we see that we're not maxing out those points by any means there. So we're getting very few points when we look at serving our kids. The problem that we have going forward is, in order to serve our kids at the level that we're providing them now, we're going to need more staff in order to maintain that same level of support. And when we look at the scale and the way that it's calculated, in order to max out the points there, so if we wanted all 20 points for service of students in grades K through 3, we would need to serve 80% or more of the students that are identified at those grade levels. So in order to max out those numbers and to have the full number of points, all of those categories require 80% of our population to be served. So that's going to require additional staff or a change in our service model. And I don't know if that's something that we're going to have to continue to review, but our service model, from the data that we just went through and talked about our value-added rating, is clearly effective and really working for our kids. So we don't really want to change that service model in order to meet this particular set of data. So we just have to kind of weigh that challenge and to see how we can continue to creatively serve students going forward.
This kind of stuff is an example of why public, the value the public puts on the state report card. I mean, there's a clear, a recent survey that showed widely the public doesn't pay attention to these state report cards. But how we can have the highest value-added rating in the state, 38, when the expected score to get an A is 2, and not meet this indicator makes no sense. And again, we have a difficult time explaining it internally to people who are educators and who are supposed to actually understand this stuff, to explain it to the general public. I think Melanie did a great job of that, but you go back to the service, the number of people we have identified, the number of people we're serving, and why she mentioned professional development repeatedly. It's so important that we continue to make all of our teachers better, because they all have students who are identified gifted in their class.
So is there a correlation between teachers and certifications in class and how they service in a class? Do you expand those numbers by having more teachers with the right training, or do you just have to hire teachers that have specific training and add them in general?
We can certainly look at those numbers of teachers. Our general classroom teachers that also have a gifted license, in total across the district, we only have 15 staff members that have that credentialing. So we could only use 15 more of those teachers who are currently in classroom positions as potential service providers. The issue is they're classroom teachers, so they are tied to their content into that grade level, and so to use them as additional service, we can't really do a double dip there. but we have very few teachers that have that credentialing. And again, we try to place our gifted students in teachers' classrooms that have that level of licensure because those teachers have the background to only yield better results and higher achievement for our kids.
Is that one of the factors that goes into that? So you mentioned that we serve 22%. So is that something that goes into that? To me, it's a cap. It seems like we have a ceiling there, a cap. Is it 22% because we can only serve so many with the staffing we have, or?
No, we will serve as many kids as we have that meet both of those criteria. But the reason we've selected both of those criteria are because those are the students with the highest level of need. So when students have multiple areas of identifications in different subject areas, then those students kind of move up on our continuum of service as to having a greater level of academic support than maybe students that just have one area of ID. What we need to look at, and that's why we added additional staffing this past year, is as our total population continues to increase, our gifted population also increases, and so we needed to add additional staff, especially at secondary, because we had such a larger number of students at middle school and high school that we couldn't support them in a way that we felt like was of high quality.
So your 22% is not a target or an aspirational
No.
number that you've set. It's based upon the kids that meet the growth
Correct.
criteria.
So that's why we really needed to address our caseload and our numbers with that additional staff, because our numbers at middle school were just becoming too high and our teachers were spread too thin to be able to provide quality support to our teachers and our kids.
Thank you.
So this spring, we also did a parent survey because we want to rely on other pieces of data outside of our state report card to see how we're doing. So in 2014, we did another parent survey, and those results are displayed here. Our overall satisfaction rating was pretty low at 28%. And in 2016, we've certainly increased that number. And so we have really tried to respond to some of the information and some of the needs that came out of that first survey a couple of years ago. And the number one thing was communication. So one of the very first things that we did was, instead of making our gifted identification letter a one-time notification, we have now been sending it out to parents annually. So that's been available in the My Olentangy parent portal the last 2 years. So parents receive that feedback and that annual notification that their child has this area of ID, so they can kind of be aware and communicate that with classroom teachers as well. We've added some additional notifications for teachers in Power School, so that information is more easily accessible to our classroom teachers as well at the building level. And we've also offered our parent opportunities. For the last 2 years, we've brought in some of those outside speakers to provide ongoing support and learning for parents, and so we've done that the last 2 years by offering 6 different parent sessions. So we were really trying to look at different ways that we can continue to provide communication and information to our community about the needs of their students and gifted education in general. So I think that is a big part of why we're seeing better results here. We still would love to increase those numbers, so we still need to look at ways that we can continue to make sure that our parents and our community is satisfied. So some of the things that came out of this most recent survey were, again, continued communication efforts and ways that we can expand the information that we are providing to parents. So we will look at that. Parents are also seeking additional enrichment opportunities, so that we would still like to look at ways that we can continue to increase our number of extracurriculars and to diversify those offerings. And then they'd also like examples of specific instructional strategies and differentiated opportunities that are happening for their children in the classroom. So I think some of our ongoing learning sessions will be more district-based and be able to provide parents with some examples of what's happening in their child's classroom, and also working with our classroom teachers to make sure that that information is being provided to parents at conferences. So just in some future planning, we will continue to look at professional development. It's really the backbone of our success with our gifted service model, and how we continue to have such great ratings in terms of our student achievement and our student growth. We do need to look at those service models and how we're going to continue to address the gifted indicator and looking at those input points. Certainly we want to look at different creative ways that we can create services for students without necessarily additional staff. We want to look at parent engagement and communication strategies as just some ongoing support and information to our community as well. So that's all the information I have. Do you have any questions for me?
I have a question. You had mentioned in the beginning that we're adding an AP course at Orange. It's a capstone course?
Yes, it's actually a 2-year course.
Oh.
And so students, their junior and senior year, will have the opportunity, it's kind of under the English umbrella. And so there's a research course where students learn how to do research. And then their second year is an action research project that students actually go out and they do implement a particular project. There is an exam component to it, but students have to defend their project to a panel, almost like a dissertation. And so it's a unique course for AP. It's a different opportunity. And so Orange High School was able to be approved. They had a very limited number of schools that were approved across the country for that because they were rolling it out year one. And so they didn't want to kind of overwhelm the professional development and their capacity for being able to provide that to schools. So Orange was able to get their application approved for next year, and then Liberty and OHS will be following the next year.
Good.
Yeah, it's a neat class. It's something that's very hands-on for kids, very personable, very interest-based, and something that could definitely help them in future post-secondary efforts.
I have a question.
Sure.
And I don't know like the legality behind it, but so can you have, if you have an English class and the kids have a group or a individual project or report to write or whatever, I know for special education, kids that have accommodations might have a smaller scope of work that they do. Is it within the realm of possibility for those that are identified as gifted for them to have a more elaborate scope of work to do?
Yes, and that's generally what we're trying to accomplish, is that students will have differentiated opportunities that might have a different product or a higher level of challenge perhaps than other students in the classroom, but we try not to make it more work. So that's part of our struggle in gifted ed, is to now not just add additional assignments or additional components of a project, but to really just make those projects different and more rigorous for the students based on academic need. So that's part of our professional development with teachers. What does that look like, and how do we accomplish that in a regular classroom setting?
Thanks.
Okay.
Congratulations on the survey scores. That's a significant
A
improvement.
big
to your
improvement,
career. That's
yes. We're happy with that. All right,
And I
thank
think
you very much.
Adding the staff, especially at the middle school, is a big driver in that, because that's where generally people like the service model at the elementary level, and then at the middle
Yeah.
school, it was something significantly different, so.
Great, thank you very
thorough.
much.
Thank you.
It's your last gifted presentation,
I
ma'am.
know.
Since you're heading this outer ridge.
All right. Item 6, the board president's report. I have 2 comments. Of course, Sunday was a great day when we had our 3 high school graduation ceremonies. We always enjoy, it was nice to have, the full board there. It was a wonderful experience. We always enjoy the great talent that's expressed in these graduates with their comments, their speeches, their entertainment, their singing, their music. It's an extremely rewarding day. It's just wonderful. It's not a long day for us because you get to see how talented these children are. And of course, we extend our best wishes for their continued success. My second item is the fact that Mark and Brian recently presented to our bond rating agencies. And of course, our treasurer will provide a more detailed report. But I just want to say that we're very pleased that Kevin was invited to participate. I think that's very indicative of the collaboration of our administration and our board working together, of course, to provide better and exceptional effort in managing our district costs. So thank you, Kevin, for being able to join them. He took a couple days off of work to do that, so that's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, no, thanks. I mean, the thing I'd add, so I had the opportunity to join Mark, Brian, and the team in New York, visiting Moody's and S&P with the underwriting team and the bond council, and it was a great experience. I was impressed with the preparation, the crispness of the message. We went in there, tried to go from AA to AAA, get the upgrade to see if we can lower our debt costs. So I think we've got a chance. I know you'll probably cover it in your remarks, but it's hard to go up. It's easy to go down. It's hard to go up. So we'll see. We'll know on the 24th, I believe. But
it was good to hear the message, good to pitch the message. It was a great experience.
Thanks again. And Mr. Rafe, Superintendent's report.
Be fairly quick since we have quite a few discussion items to go through tonight. Again, I want to reiterate thank you, Dave, for mentioning graduation. It was a great day honoring the 1,230 graduates of our three schools. All three high school principals did a wonderful job and their staff out organizing those events for our families. As you see, we have 1,230 going out, and we anticipate about 1,285 kindergartners. And that doesn't include the kids who choose to do all-day kindergarten somewhere else. So we will still be growing, but that is obviously the biggest overall class to date. We have had numerous schools get recognized by the Ohio Department of Education based on last year's test results. The schools on the left there received the Momentum Award, and that award is awarded to schools and districts, because we were on the districts on there also, that earned A's in all of the value-added categories. Olentangy is one of 53 districts across the state that received the Momentum Award, and the schools are 9 of a total of 165 across the state. I don't know, Jack, how many total schools are there in the state?
District 614.
The state, or schools?
Buildings.
Yeah.
2,500. Is it made up guess?
Thank you, Mr. Finn. And then
He'll be running for president.
yes. And then on the right there, the OD also awards schools for all A's, the all A awards, all three high schools were on that list. There were 46 total schools in the state that received the all A awards. So it's just been, all year has been just great news coming in on our academic achievements. So we're continue to be very, very proud of that. This week, or coming Monday, we are starting our summer schedule since the last day of school that the children will be here. So our summer work schedule for June and July will start. As indicated there, we feel that's been a significant cost saving for us with regards to energy costs since August of 2015. While the learning for the kids ends tomorrow with the last day of school, for the staff it just begins. We have 900 staff members enrolled in over 60 professional development courses that are being offered. And you are all invited to Think Tank, which starts on Tuesday. I really commend our curriculum team for putting that together. It's a great opportunity for Olentangy teachers to learn from other Olentangy teachers. So we're really encouraged by that. What's our attendance looking like? A couple hundred? 300?
250 to 300.
Yeah, and they come in so could even have more than have signed up already. So we have quite a few discussion items. Mrs. McMurray's going to come and talk about our new summer academic programs that we have. We've redesigned the summer academic programs and really have focused them more on enrichment-based activities. So she's going to give you an update on that. Anthony and Vince will be talking about the curriculum resources that are on the agenda for approval. So you have more information on that. Of course, Brian will be doing his second reading of the 5-year forecast. Mr. Gordon will be giving you an update on his facility use fees. On the facility use fees for the district, and then Ms. Lenko will be giving us an update on our lunch fees, which will increasing the price of lunches for next year to comply with the federal guidelines. Some additional agenda items of note: we are approving 2 administrative employments. Currently, both Jennifer Blakely and Krista are employed through the ESC of Central Ohio. We're moving them over to Olentangy contracts. We always want to make sure we highlight that when we do that. We used to get a reimbursement from the ESC for those costs, but this is
Used to be unit funding, and you have so many units, but that has since went away.
Right.
A couple years ago.
So the renewal of certified contracts on the agenda are all the people that were non-renewed at the last meeting, the August hires and the retire rehires. So I want to make sure I always highlight that since people ask questions about the retire rehires. One of that's pulled out separately is the certified reemployment of Ron Waterwash, and this is the final step of the whole process. Ron, this has to be done differently than the other retiree hires since it's the first time he's being rehired in that role. And then we have the non-routine use of a school bus that Mr. Zioli will be driving the school bus in the Memorial Day Parade. We approve this every year. So the membership renewal in the Ohio High School Athletic Association is another annual renewal. We have some summer improvements. So we have district-wide paving and athletic track resurfacing as up for your approval. There's a long list of school equipment and furniture. So when Mr. Gordon's up here talking about the fees, I'm sure he would also take any questions on any of those items. And then a very large purchase for network and computer equipment from Hewlett-Packard, and that was the exhibit that was amended. So Mr. Sexton is here to take questions if you want a thorough explanation on that, or why that's changed, why that change came about. He'd be happy to provide that. Just a couple other important dates coming up. We have our 4th high school groundbreaking ceremony on Thursday, June 9th. We're going to start that at 5 o'clock and then come back here for our regularly scheduled board meeting, which has been changed to a business meeting. And then, well, there it is, that session. So, questions? You want more? Would you like Rob to explain the switch and the?
I think that he should,
Yeah.
just to
All
get
right.
him on tape.
All right.
Because it's a good switch.
Yes.
It's good.
He appreciates the opportunity.
Yes.
Of course, of course. So real quick, the reason for the change is to really increase our chances of getting additional federal money back to the district. So the E-rate program, you guys probably have probably seen that bill on your cell phones or your home phones. It goes to Universal Services. So all that money goes to a subsidiary of the FCC, and so the change just increases our opportunity to potentially bring over $800,000 back to the district in reimbursement for these network upgrades. So we had to, instead of keeping it all at one, we had to identify, okay, these are eligible items, these are not eligible items, and then apply specifically for each one of those. So number stays the same, everything stays the same. The emphasis on who is doing the work, in this case DCTS, but there's a variety of different equipment within that purchase, some from HP, some from other companies like Palo Alto and Dell, but all the money would be coming from Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, their Lund division. So
you say it increases the potential. When will you know if we've secured the additional federal funding?
that's up to the Universal Services division. So sometimes it's really quick, sometimes it takes 6 months or so.
But this is funding, we've never applied for E-rate funding for these types of services in the past, where we
Correct.
had been eligible, or possibly been eligible, we hadn't done some of that, so.
Yeah, there are Category 1 items that you can apply for, that is internet access and things like that. And then there are Category 2, which, yes, to this point, we've never ever applied before. So this will be the first time for that. So hopefully we're lucky.
Is it a one-time payment, or is it something that we could get dollars every year?
Well, we can apply every year against this amount. There's a rule. It's called the 2 and 5 rule. So you can apply. You can't apply every year for this money. You pick 2 years out of every 5, and then you can go that way. That prevents schools that are up there in the 90% range. We're at 40% reimbursement. There are schools up there at 90. So back in the day, that you would apply every year, for things, and this gives opportunity for more districts to participate in this program.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Yep.
Mr. Kern, Treasurer's Report.
Yes, just a few things. Discussion item, we'll talk about the 5-year forecast, which we've already had a presentation on just a little bit, but Treasurer action items tonight, we'll be approving the 5-year forecast and also the general fund budget for 2017, and some minutes and donations out there. You guys hit on the ratings trip. I feel it was a successful venture. We'll see, I guess, next week we'll find out our ratings, probably next Thursday or Friday we'll find out the ratings of it. But like Mr. O'Brien said, we're very well prepared. We had a very succinct message to them. I think they're really going to push. They go to a committee, which they try to get that upgrade. And I think, you know, both groups, Moody's and S&P, will push for us, since you present to two people who then present to the committee for them. And I think those people will try to work for us for the upgrade. Some of the things that hold us back is really nothing kind of inherent. We just can't really do too much about is growing enrollment. They consider to see, we continue to need capital items such as buildings and stuff to house those increasing enrollment, and also debt. Mr. Rafe mentioned in his graduation speech, since he's been here, we've opened, and the kids that just graduated, we've opened 14 buildings in that time. So you're going to have some debt because you're issued debt for those buildings, and so that's just one thing that we'll continue to work on. But as far as finances, they see our general fund as a solid, strong, good thing, and the levy support, that was a really big thing, the big 58%. They see that as a very positive, and then continued support. We've passed everything since 1999, so that continued support was that'll really help when you look at going for the rating. So they'll issue that next week, and then we'll look June 9th. We'll actually be selling the bonds for the new high school, along with the other portions such as the academy building and some of the other capital items that are part of the bond package that was presented when you guys voted on to go forward. That'll be done June 9th. So hopefully hopefully have an upgrade to talk about when we come to that time. So
Comments? Questions? I know in the past, they've been very pleased with the fact that we have these two very important volunteer committees, the Finance and Audit and the Facilities Committee now. Did they mention that again this time?
Yeah, it was part of the message, was that we leverage the expertise resident in the district, whether that be architectural, engineering, building, finance, because we walked them both through the structure of the Audit Finance Committee as well as the Facilities Committee, and how Mark shared both enrollment forecast reports with him. The bottoms up one we did, the top down, as a way of demonstrating the amount of diligence that goes into anticipating growth needs. So that was well done.
So our volunteers are a big help.
yes, they are.
Anything else?
No.
Questions? Thank you, Brian. Any public participation for general comments?
There is none.
And as Mark has pointed out, we do have 5 discussion items. So Ms. McMurphy, if you'd like to begin with summer academic program.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi.
This summer, we're so excited. Lots of, as Mr. Rafe said, lots of new, lots of celebrations. And so for the summer, we have some new things going on. Always looking for ways to facilitate maximum learning for every student. We have this summer C16, and that stands for Summer Enrichment Experience. And of course, 16 is the school year. Currently, well, this was as of Monday, and this registration has closed, but we have 458 students in grades 1 through 8 participating in this program, and it's self-funded. It's $100 per session. The sessions are 8 days. Really, it looks like it's 10 days or it's 2 weeks. So the 2 sessions are June 6th to 16th, and then again the 20th to the 30th. We have those at 2 locations. We have them connected because we have elementary students as well as middle school, so we've tried to have the locations close for the parents, so as they drop them off. We are not providing transportation. Clearly, we do have a lot of students that are participating in that. Some of the courses include coding, which was a popular one. That one closed out pretty quickly because we had a max of 25 students per session. Creative writing, cursive, debate, drama and performing arts, which is also a very popular session, game strategy, so they're going to do like tic-tac-toe, checkers, and chess, and so that's a fun one. Spanish, visual arts, and young inventors. So it's nice that we have a nice offering, something enriching. We didn't want to necessarily do what we do every day in the elementary or the middle schools. We wanted to offer some enrichment programs for those students. So we're excited about that. Sean Mickens is the summer school administrator, and he's done a fabulous job of looking at the space that we have and which classrooms do we use, and talking with the parents and making sure that we have the medical needs of the students met as well. So that's our elementary to middle school program. And then for our high school, we have, and these numbers, I apologize, I worked on this Monday, and we have some new numbers that were in as of 4 o'clock today. So currently, instead of 384, we have 423, which is amazing. And that's up from last year. Last year we had 389, and registration closes next Thursday. So I would anticipate we'll have a few more students join the ranks of the high school for 9 through 12. What's new this year, and it's exciting, and again, this was a Monday number, but a today number is 25 students registered for American Sign Language. And so we're excited to offer that, and our instructor is an instructor for Ohio State, so we're excited that she's willing to teach some of our high school students, so we're thankful for her to do that with us. The orientation for the high school program is May 31st at 5 o'clock, I believe, at Olentangy High School, and then that concludes July 12th is when the grades need to be in. So most of this is online, and so it's a different way for students to learn, and they're excited about that. So that's summer school. Always looking for new ways to, like I said, to meet the needs of our kids.
Does the American Sign Language, does that qualify for the language credit at high school?
Yes, it does.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's great.
Thanks, Peggy.
You guys are on.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peggy.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
you are welcome.
And our curriculum resource update, gentlemen.
Yeah, good evening again. So we want to talk to you a little bit about some of the resources we're going to bring to you tonight. There's actually some things on here as well that are going to be next month and then also in July, only because we looked at this as part of a process in terms of what we've evaluated this year, what we worked with staff to evaluate, what we took to a curriculum committee consisting of parents, administrators, and staff members to get all as kind of one package. So we wanted to give that all to you together tonight. So what this process has been to this point is we've worked throughout the year, first of all, to identify what are the needs. And not just, I want this resource or we need this, but looking at what data do we have to kind of justify some needs, some purchases in terms of curricular resources, and then look at district initiatives as well. You've heard about the digital conversion that's been presented, making sure that what we do aligns with that and that we're equipping teachers with resources to support that. So again, it's kind of the starting point is just identify what are our desires and what are our needs and what does the data support. So that was kind of the groundwork. From there, we've then worked with staff to identify what are the resources then that meet those needs. Also working to pilot and evaluate those resources with staff members. Things we've done a lot of too is looking at what's already being used or what has one person found or one building used or looked at. So that way we have evidence at a district level knowing whether something works or doesn't work. rather than looking at 100 new things, it seems to be beneficial to focus on what people have experience with and expertise with. We'll bring in outside things if necessary, but it's also good to kind of look at those things, like I said, that already exist. So after identifying the need, identifying the resources, we did that. I went through the process. The last part of the process then was to go to the curriculum committee, again, of parents, staff members, administrators. On April 26th, we presented all this to them and had very positive feedback from the community on this as well. So, all right. So the first thing I want to bring to tonight, and these are both on the agenda for tonight, is looking at word study. Word study is a critical part of reading instruction at the elementary level. These are both elementary specific pieces. But when we look at word study, really I'm talking about three different things there. I'm talking about phonemic awareness, phonics, and vocabulary. The National Reading Panel, the work they've done has put out 5 key components of reading instruction, and the word study components are 3 of the 5. So it's a really important component to have and make sure that we have something systematic and something that we're delivering instruction, tier 1 instruction, quality instruction to all of our students. So where we got to this point was looking first of all at foundations. That's a purchase you're going to see. It's approximately $60,000. But what that is it allows us to continue to put foundations materials at every kindergarten through 3rd grade classroom and provide training to our staff members, because I'm not a fan at all of saying, okay, here's your materials, now figure it out. So this also means we need to train our staff and make sure they know how to use it and use it effectively. Foundations is a multi-sensory approach to reading, a multi-sensory approach to word study. So rather than just memorizing our sight words or the word wall, kids are using sounds, their songs, that they're touching the letter, a lot of different things. So it really helps build those connections and helps them learn in different ways. The reason we're also moving forward with this is something that's been in place in the district for several years. But as we first rolled it out, it was really looked at as more of a tier 2 intervention. So, what do we do for kids who might need it? And then when I kind of took over this role and really started evaluating the resources, realizing that foundations works best as that intervention if it's also the classroom instruction. It can't work if it's just the intervention. I might get it 30 minutes a day, 2 times a week. This has to be the core of what I'm doing word study. This has to be the core of my phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary work. So again, we've evaluated it. We have the evidence that works from the district. We look at buildings that have used it across the entire building, especially in kindergarten, 1st grade, and their test scores and some of our universal screeners with Ames Web are much higher. So again, we moved in that direction through the evaluations. So that's the first piece, is with the foundations. Again, that is a K-3. That's how foundations is designed. The other piece then with word study is words their way. And that really is intended for grades 4 through 5. Again, foundation stops at grade 3. So we need to figure out what are we going to address, or what are we going to use to address that need. Words their way rose to the top because it does hit those 3 pieces I mentioned, the phonemic awareness, the phonics, the vocabulary. The other nice thing about Words Their Way is as we dive into the research, the National Center on Intensive Intervention has actually looked at Words Their Way, has shown that it is an effective program as an intervention and a whole class instruction, so it met those needs. It's going to be a shift. Now, some buildings do use it already in conjunction with foundations, and it works well together. But it's going to be a shift because Words Their Way is really built on developmental spelling levels as opposed to just this is your 1st grade list or this is your 5th grade list. So it's going to be a bit of a change because it's really based on meeting the needs of the kid. If a kid is a within word pattern speller, then that's where we work with that student at. If a student is a syllable and affix speller, then that's where we meet them at. So there's going to be a lot of professional development to go along with that as well. But again, we have to start with getting the resources in teachers' hands. So those are the 2 big pieces we're bringing to you for specifically for elementary word study. So, any questions about the word study? Yeah.
So are we as a district making the move to a phonemic-based elementary school platform?
Yeah, we're looking at
The whole, like every building?
Every building, every kindergarten through 3rd grade classroom. And really research says that it's good for kids up to 6th grade.
It is.
So which is why we're looking at Words Their Way, and even with the 4th and 5th grade, we wanted a program that included those components. And so that's one of the things too, we need to work with staff, and I've spent the last 3 months working with our literacy support teachers on this too, is, what does that look like? And it's not, I have my phonemic awareness block every hour, my phonics, no, this is integrated. All these components have to be part of word study. So yes, we are moving towards and making sure that as we define word study, it includes all 3 components. And if all you're doing, for example, vocabulary, or you have that vocabulary list, that's not word study and that doesn't meet our needs. So that's where we're moving, absolutely.
Great.
Other questions about this one?
Yeah, I can start it.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so good evening. Newsella is another resource that we're going to bring to you tonight. And this started out as sort of me looking at the needs of middle school ELA in particular. But in the end, really what ended up happening was we ended up seeing this meeting needs really K-12 or 312. And what Newsella is an online resource that provides students access to daily news articles. But the interesting piece about it is that the teacher is able to able to change the reading level of the article simply by clicking a button. And this has been around in a free sense for a long time. And teachers in the district, we had really high usage of it, and people always talk to us because there's a free version and there's a paid version. And obviously the free version doesn't give you the ability to keep track of data with the students and build text sets and things like that. But our teachers really, they know about this resource. The really interesting thing about it, not just news articles, they're from very reputable sources. The Washington Post, The Guardian, or some other ones.
Los Angeles Times.
Los Angeles Times. And every day they create 4 new articles. So literally you can come into the classroom, you know, in those teachable moments that happen all the time in classrooms, and really click on that article and provide different kids in your class with an accessible text. And that's such a challenge in the classroom. So when I looked at ELA in particular, the things that rose to the top were access to nonfiction. With the shift in the standards, every teacher for the last 4 or 5 years has been saying, what do you need? We need nonfiction. We need nonfiction. The other one is the ability to adjust that reading level. And pretty much anything you look at now has they're starting to try to mimic Newsella, but what Newsella has that the others don't is that real content from the actual source. And then the third thing that I think people want relevancy and authenticity in the classroom. We talk about that all the time. And what that means is we have to give students access to information the way it's presented in the real world. And that's what this really is. So we started to explore it, like I said, in the middle school, but what we realized is there was heavy usage at the elementary, and there was also usage at the high school. And the best thing about this resource is it crosses all disciplines. This is something that every teacher, regardless of content area, is going to have access to and be able to use. So if I'm a science teacher and I'm looking for something, we were reading something about the space shuttle or something like that the other day, if I'm doing exploration, I can go in there and search those by standard, by topic, by sentence. So we really feel strongly that we have a lot of teachers who want this and are already using the free version, but also this could open up a whole new world for some of those other content areas, whether you're in the arts and across the building. So we like the flexibility of it a lot, and honestly, it's a pretty good deal. When we looked at other resources, like what was the...
So the nice thing about this too, and as we've developed curriculum over the last several years, one of the things our teachers say over and over, our staff just come to
Sorry, I break through.
One of the things they come to us with is just they want resources that are the same that they can collaborate with. It's very difficult to collaborate across 15 buildings, especially at an elementary level. If I've got these books in my book room, but I've got these books in my book room, and we can't develop common things. So this really provides that common piece that allows every student, every teacher to access the same materials. And to the cost point that Vince was talking about, we looked at a lot of things. And again, this is one just because of funding. This is not something we need in teachers' hands right now, so we're going to bring it to you in July with the new fiscal year, but the process. It's based on $3 per kid per year for 5 years. And that locks us in at a district license, so even as we continue to grow, the price doesn't go up. So there's a lot of cost savings there just by doing that. And when you look at all these other resources, like there's one in particular we looked at that was what, $41 per student per year. So giving us that ability to kind of allow teachers to collaborate, to put together this bank of resources at $3 per kid per year made a lot of sense to us.
Content updates constantly. That's the thing I like about it. The one part I didn't mention is digital literacy and the need for students to read and write online, whether it's for taking a test or just how the way we read on a daily basis changes, and they need to practice that. Just because they were born with a computer in their hand doesn't know they know how to annotate a text online, how to answer questions online and read. So actually a lot of the things you'll hear tonight really focus in on that because we know that's a need. We hear that from teachers all the time. So any questions on Newsella?
Can the kids access it from home using their, so they can use this for research?
Yeah, exactly. That's at the upper level. That's how a lot of people are starting the research process. They know it's reputable. They know the kids can access it because the kid can actually change the reading level too.
I was going to say, so if they're doing research at home and they found a great article on the space shuttle, but it was way above their level, they can adjust it themselves.
Yeah, it starts with the highest level, and then
Yeah, so it's written generally the first level is at that third grade level. And so a teacher, and there's actually an elementary version where they can click a button and it kind of pushes the elementary pieces to kids. And so as a teacher, I can assign that third grade or the fifth grade level to my kids, but the student can still read the other one. Like, I want to challenge myself. I also speak as a parent. Like my son, his teacher's one who used the pilot this year. Every other night he's at home reading Zella articles, and he's usually reading the highest one just because he wants to see if he can. Like, hey, Dad, I'm reading the high school. Like, okay, but, you know, so kids can read whatever they want on top of what the teacher assigns them. That's a huge benefit as well.
Very interesting. Anything else?
Yeah, one more. And so I'll go quickly on this one. Science resources. Gizmos is something that has been used in the district previously. A couple buildings were using it through PTO and grant money. And we haven't done much with science, from what I understand, for a while. And what this is really is they're online simulations of experiments that involve math and science. And what teachers love about them is that when you ask science teachers the two things they want more lab time or more lab funds, and they want block classes essentially. And what Gizmos does is it allows you to do some experiments that are too dangerous, first of all, for the classroom, and simulated online, or things that are just not feasible. You can still do the science in some way. It's not perfect because it's not real, but you can still access that content. And over the last 3 years, all I do is hear about gizmos. Whole class demonstrations of dissections, or assigning the gizmos and being able to let kids work through those at their own pace. The biggest thing with this that we see is it mimics exactly some of the skills they need to take the state test. If you look at the science test, the drag and drop, the setup of the experiments, this was way ahead of its time. The gentleman who developed this, a lot of what has happened since then in science assessment at the state level has come from some of these models. So what we're proposing with this is really an equity move. I mean, all the buildings, some buildings had access, some classrooms had access. It wasn't equal access. So we felt strongly that instead of looking at full new adoption, what we would do is purchase gizmos for 5 years. And then also the bottom one is just renew the subscriptions to the online version of the text we already purchased. I think it was 2009. So instead of going about a whole new science adoption, they love the gizmo piece. They're okay with the text they still have. That was a 6-year subscription. I think it ran out in 2014. So we want to re-up that for 3 more years. That's all they would do is 3 more, because there's probably something new that will come out. But they'll be set really until 2020, which is nice. And I think they have what they've been using, just like Nuzella, and they're comfortable with. We're still going to do PD with teachers, especially the math, because there's a math side of it, a math usage of it, and we'll do PD with that also.
It's challenging to keep up with the curriculum resources. There are a lot of great free resources that our teachers use, but it's challenging because you get a teacher who goes out there and finds something, and they want to use it, and now they want to, and then it kind of starts to grow, and they want support, and it's very difficult for these two gentlemen and technology to support. So I've asked Jack and that team to look at, here are our district resources, and we need to focus on using these because we've thoroughly vetted them, and this is what we'll support moving forward, especially with the digital content.
So can the kids access gizmos from at home as well?
Yes. And teachers often assign them. The also thing is it actually plays really nice with Schoology. So you can kind of build them into a Schoology module, which is the way I really want to see teachers
What
use.
age is it?
Well,
targeted
the
for?
ones we're using right here are only for middle school. But another thing we're going to do next year
We're going to
is
actually evaluate and pilot the gizmos starting early on at elementary,
And the high school level.
at high school next year. We did get a quote, but we didn't. We're not going to go through and proceed with something that we haven't given our staff a chance to fully evaluate. So we do have kind of in place to pilot to look at expanding that license K-12.
But you're seeing a theme of like having some of the same resources across the grade levels, because we can support that with PD better, and also it gives teachers something to collaborate on.
Right.
If everyone has a different resource at every level, you just
There's no consistency.
Yeah, and people don't have anything to talk about when they get together to collaborate.
And couldn't we use that for blizzard bags instead of?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
Nuzella would be-
Assign it on Schoology, and it's relevant to what they're.
Yeah.
Yay.
Maybe.
And then the last thing, briefly, that we just want to bring to your attention, and this was more of an informational piece. Again, this will be on the agenda in the June 9th meeting, but there are revised state standards in physical education, family, consumer science, and marketing. So we have worked with those departments to look at those, to unpack those. nothing groundbreaking. Like in physical education, for example, they went from 5 major standard cluster, or I'm sorry, from 6 major standard areas down to 5, and kind of embedded one in the other 5.
Yeah, in marketing and family consumer science, really what they're looking at is repackaging those into different courses, more modern, relevant courses. And next year, actually, we've filled out the paperwork to create a marketing pathway through those courses, where when students complete these 4 courses throughout the year, they'll be eligible for a college credit through Columbus State for like an intro-level marketing class. That could be coming down the line for family consumer science. It's also coming down the line for business. So I've done a lot of learning and work about career tech to kind of get that set up, and I think that it could potentially, it supports our DECA programs a lot, and it could also grow those programs in the future. Any questions about standards?
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very good. And we do have our second reading for the 5-year forecast, general budget from Mr. Kern.
I'm not going to do the full, oops, now I just dropped and broke it too. Full presentation as we did the last time. So I'm just going to go over a few highlights, or actually so there's one change that we had from the last time too, so we'll talk about that. But I do want to talk about the general fund budget first. As you can see, that's part of our exhibit there. That is the detail down to what we call the object level, which is the lowest level we can, according to our USAS, which is our statewide standards of accounting, or report, how we do coding, I should say. That detail for you, from down to supplies to salaries and so forth. Those totals do roll up into our 5-year forecast. Just look at the budget process again. We sit down, we give departments past history. We give them 3 years worth of history to look at, plus their current year, and knowing what needs they may have out there coming up, either new or old, or continuing, I should say. And we vet that process. Randy, myself, Jack, and Emily have sat down, and even Mr. Rafe a little bit too, look down and dig through those department budgets to really look and see is this necessary, or where we can cut out and go forth to fit into our 5-year forecast. So we also do that at the building level. We give them a per pupil amount and kind of a target based off of preliminary enrollment projections going forward in the fall. We'll adjust some buildings if they have a huge, increase in enrollment based off where they were in the spring, but basically that's kind of set there too. And then however the building principals choose to fit it within the different object codes in there is where we go forward, and that all is rolled up into our general fund budget, along with the other funds such as principals funds, our grant funds, our activity funds. All that will be presented. The rest of those approvals will be at the end of June. You'll see those approvals as we're required by statutory to do that, and then file those with the county auditor as we move into the new fiscal year, July 1. So, as far as the 5-year forecast is concerned, didn't really want to get into too much the whole full-blown presentation, but I did want to note the one change that you did have, which is a good change. As going through and reviewing, as going part of the bond ratings presentation, I happened to look and say, oops, I forgot something. And what we forgot to do is in our TIF revenues is to factor in, which is, if you think about TIF, it's in our all other operating revenues line item, which is 1.06 in the very small print of our 5-year forecast as an exhibit. But to factor in the new levy going forward. So currently we received about $18.1 million. When we start here in 2000's collections in January of 17, that'll go up to 19. And then when we get full year's collections, that'll be 20 million. So that added $7 million through the forecast in 2020. So that was factored into this too. So we would have caught it next year when we start looking at it. Oh, why is this up so much? But it's good to catch it now and factor it in. And just one more thing, positive thing to show when we went to the bond rating. So That's really the only change from when I presented back in April. Any questions?
No. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
And our lunch fees.
Is Jeff first?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, see, I need to put my glasses on. Jeff, yeah, if you would, please.
Good evening. I believe you received in your packet the adjusted fees, the new fees and the former fee schedule with adjustments on that. The reason for these fees is 3 years ago, we had not been charging fees to some of our nonprofit groups. We implemented the fee schedule to adjust that, and we have slowly been working that number up. The facility rental, the gym rentals, the other rentals in the building, it's a low dollar cost per hour right now, and what that cost covers is our electric, our gas, our utility cost, maintenance on the facilities such as light bulbs, floor maintenance for like the gyms and other things like toilet paper and those paper supplies, salt that we use in the winter when we're salting the sidewalks and those things. So that, the intent at this point is to cover those costs for the use of the facilities. And we did not, we have pretty significant and equal fees on the level 3 and 4, similar to other districts in the area, so we did not adjust those fees, but we did slightly increase by about 10% the facility use fees. And the field rental fees went up, was a bigger cost jump, but those fees are low in a lot of cases compared to what the going rate may be at the local parks or some of those areas. And the difference in their fees versus ours is we do not maintain the fields for the groups that use them. So a lot of groups will do upgrades to the facilities such as the dugouts and different things that the groups have done. And we've tried to recover our cost, and as our facilities have started aging, again with implementing the fees 2 years ago, is we're getting to the point where a lot of those fields, like our buildings, are getting older. So we're starting to get into where we're replacing fencing, replacing dirt around the fence posts where it's washed out, some of those things. So as we start implementing increases in that, it should go along with the phased-in replacement of fences and other things that are starting to age and need repaired on the fields.
So do we segregate those revenues separately and accumulate them, or is it just all in general fund?
It's all in the general fund. And we can track it by building, of course, but
Anything else? Very important meeting coming up on June 1st of facilities, correct? We're going to have a really solid update on the progress of the from the construction team.
Yes, we're going to talk quite a bit about the construction manager at risk process, where we're at in the process we're going through to establish our GMP, which is our guaranteed maximum price. So yes, that will be a big discussion and preparing, because once we hit July and August, a lot of that information is going to come fast and furious, and some of it, a week or two before the board's voting on it. So we want to get that information out and have discussions about that ahead of time. So, yep.
Great. Anything else? Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
And a presentation on the lunch fees. Ms. Lingo, please.
How old are the babies now?
14 weeks on Tuesday.
Mother of twins, 14 weeks.
3 girls now, though.
Yes.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Just to reiterate, I'm Bethany Linko. I am the supervisor of food service. I'm here to talk to you guys about lunch fees for next school year, lunch prices. Just to give you some background on lunch pricing, part of Child Nutrition Reauthorization 2010, which is known as the Healthy, Hungry, Free Kids Act, required school districts to participate in the National School Lunch Program to follow a provision known as equity in school lunch pricing. This basically requires school districts to make incremental increases in our weighted average lunch price until that average either equals to or exceeds the current federal reimbursement rate for a free lunch. What makes this provision a little tricky is that reimbursement each year increases, so we're always trying to catch a moving target. For this past school year, 15-16, we received $3.07 for every free meal that we served in the schools. In comparison, for every paid meal that we served, we received $2.29. So that gives us a difference of $2.78. So that becomes the target for this coming school year, for the 16-17 school year. Based on October data from this past school year, we determined that our weighted average was $2.46. So that's obviously lower than the $2.78, which means we're not in compliance with this regulation, and therefore we need to increase lunch prices for next school year. So to determine how much we need to increase our lunch prices by, USDA puts out a nice calculator for us. And using the calculator, we determined that our unrounded adjusted average paid lunch price was $2.59. So adjusting that by a factor of 4.97%, which again is a factor USDA gives us, that puts us at a lunch price of $2.70, a weighted average. USDA is a little bit flexible when raising lunch prices. If a school district has to raise it by greater than 10 cents, they'll do a 10 cents cap. So if it's over 10 cents, you at least have to do 10 cents, or you can do more if the school district chooses to do so. So knowing all of that, we are proposing tonight to increase lunch prices by 15 cents across all grade levels. So that would put elementary at $2.40, middle schools at $2.65, and then high schools at $2.90. From a revenue standpoint, that would bring in about an additional $200,000 to the food service account. So that would help cover some departmental expenses, also help with when we lose revenue due to calamity days and testing days. But then comparing that to area school districts, even with that 15-cent increase, we're still very affordable in comparison. So that's what we're proposing tonight. And I also just want to take the opportunity that if you guys are ever in the school around lunchtime, you ever want to eat, let us know. We'll be more than happy to provide you with a meal. So any questions? No? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, according to my husband, it is the best meal in town. I think he owes them money.
I just go there for the discussion at lunch table.
No, that's, yeah.
That's key.
That's the best part. Elementary.
Do we have any public participation requests for action items?
Nope.
So that will take us to your treasurer action items. If you'd like to present them, please.
Yes, I'd like to present treasurer action items A through D. A, approve the financial five-year forecast, approve the general fund budget for 2017. C, approve the board meeting minutes for April 14th. And D, approve the donations to the district.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Mrs. Feasel?
Yes.
Mr. Bartz?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes, treasurer action items passed 5-0. And Mr. Rave, superintendent action items?
Yes, I'd like to present superintendent action items A through T. A lot of agenda items, and again, noting the amended item S.
Motion, please. Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I just had one question. I looked at the Ohio High School Athletic Association contract. Does anyone know how much we pay? Because it wasn't on there.
We don't.
We don't? Okay. So that's an association that we don't.
There used to be a fee to join
Yeah.
OHSA, but they've waived that. They because of the revenues they've created through their tournaments, they have waived that for schools,
Okay.
districts and schools.
What happens if you don't participate? Do
You
have
can't
to-
participate.
You can't go in the tournaments.
Yeah, you have to join another conference, right? Oh, no, that's,
It's just OHSA. You have to join. You can't participate in the state tournaments.
I don't think there's a parallel organization
there
in the
isn't.
state.
There's not, no.
I have a comment on two items, which is J, under, about the facility rental
Yeah.
fees, and M, the OIA contract. And it's mostly just I guess, we've been going around and round about fees and facilities and usage and what's the future going to look like. I guess I have just a general request. It's off the, it's not unofficial, but if we could possibly, over the next calendar year, look at very carefully what type of implied contracts we're getting into with organizations that want to provide large donations and build facilities because of what that may mean moving forward. Appreciate those donations, but every time we do that, so just as a marker in the record, I want to make sure that we do a thorough evaluation of that because we do have our fields are at such a premium. And then the people that, while we appreciate the donation, they do a great job, we thank them for that. We get into all kinds of situations, I think, that put Mr. Gordon in a position that he doesn't want to be in, and he needs to focus on high school number 4. So just as a general rule, I'm all for these things. I just want to make sure that maybe we put the brakes on some of those and tell people thank you, but maybe hold off on some of those. That's it.
Yeah, we have studied, we're in the process of beginning studying what other districts charge for the facilities, what kind of revenue they're creating.
The whole concept of a scheduler, right? A master schedule.
Right.
Yeah, and what benefit can a more
Make sure you
defined
optimize
process
space.
be for the taxpayers on
Exactly, because
improvements?
the fields and gyms are owned by the taxpayers and not
Yeah.
a specific club sport.
Agree. So, could we get, this is a significant amount of capital improvements on here that or the permanent improvements that we kind of talked about maybe 2 meetings ago. Can we go back and say, here's what we budgeted, here's how they're coming in, and here's how
So we
we
can see how they're coming in.
rearranged? Because, I mean, so on the good, if you look at the track resurface, I think we budgeted 125, but it's coming about 114, so we're coming in under there. But looks like a lot more equipment than what we had thought. And my favorite of asphalt is in there about 250. We budgeted like 530. I'm trying to figure out how many waves of asphalt we're gonna go through in concrete. Okay.
I do come back in the fall. with
Asphalt
some-
came up with the rating agencies too, just for the record.
I do come back in the fall after
Brought it up.
the summer purchases are done. We give a breakout of what was budgeted and what was actual, so we do give that report after the end of the year.
It'd just be good for us to see, all right, this is where we started. Things change and they're gonna change, you get that? It's just an awareness of how they changed and.
Yeah, so
if we're
the
able to
track,
accomplish more.
what was listed on there that wasn't on the original list was Shanahan as patchwork, not resurfacing. So Shanahan was listed on there, but that's just patchwork, and the other 3 are, as we described in the original list you have there in your hand.
Okay.
The asphalt bids came in pleasantly low compared to what they have been. In past years, we've been really close on our estimates on cost with where it comes in at. So we came in low. There's a couple things in here that aren't yet, that's budgeted for asphalt and concrete, and that is we have about 20 to 25,000 in other patching on asphalt. So we have another company we've been seeking cost on to go out and do patchwork on places that aren't part of the big bid. So that where they don't, the mobilization cost for the bigger companies to go do that gets so expensive. We have some local companies we're getting pricing from doing that. The other one is we have about, again, $20,000 to $25,000 worth of concrete work that would be added to what you see tonight. And that is, for example, in front of Liberty High School, the sidewalk's starting to really deteriorate quite a bit. So we're going to do some replacements there. We've had some replacements at Liberty Middle School and some of those things. So that's another about $50,000 that you don't see on tonight's agenda, but is part of that, what that budget is. When we found we were able to decrease the cost in the track, we were, from our original budget last fall, we were worried about where we'd fall with asphalt, so we added that money in. And that money at that point, if we don't spend it, then it goes back into the PI for next year, with the exception of anything that we would do outside of the original list that we'd go through the treasurer, superintendent for. Some of the things we're doing at Arrowhead and some of those upgrades as well may come out of that we would have had to add funds to our list for. But we can certainly give a running update as we get those things in.
That'd be great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Anything else? Would you call the roll, please? Superintendent Action.
Yes. Mrs. Patrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Fiesel,
Yes.
Mr. Bartz?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes, so the action items for the superintendent passed 5-0, and we have a single Chief Operations Officer.
Yep, I'd like to present 14A, approving supplemental employment for Catherine Rafe at Freedom Trail Elementary School as one of the building leadership team members.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Fiesel,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. Bartz,
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick,
Yep.
Mr. King.
Yes, so the operations officer action item passes 5-0 also. So with that, we will take a motion to go and vote to go into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code. Matters required to be kept confidential by federal law, regulations, or state statutes, and Ohio Revised Code conferences with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject of pending or imminent court action. So we can have a motion, please,
So moved.
and a second,
I'll second.
and any discussion to that? So if you call a roll on that vote, please.
Mr. Bartz?
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Fiesel,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes, executive session motion passes 5-0. We will not have any further action after that meeting. We'll just come back into this room to adjourn the meeting. So thank you for being here.